Have you ever had to keep your accomplishments a secret from those who ought to have been pleased with you? For the fifth time in an hour, my dad's name appeared on my phone while I was there. This sleek, contemporary device, which was very different from the scraped oak table in my Tennessee home where I learnt to make myself tiny, was buzzing across the glass of my desk as I sat there. I didn't respond. Once more, the email then arrived. Line of subject: "You are needed by your sister. Final opportunity from my father, Lawrence Reynolds." Before I opened it, I already knew what it would say. Nevertheless, I clicked. The most significant day in Chloe's life is her wedding. Attend or disregard any assistance in the future. Yes, assistance. The kind that only shows up when I'm required as backup optics or free labor. The voicemail notice appeared less than 30 seconds later. "It's your father, Maiden. This has continued for far too long, and I have no idea what game you are playing." The same script, a different day. Chloe's wedding palooza, a full 14 days of rehearsals, parties, picture opportunities, and devotion at the altar of the golden child, begins in 2 weeks. My presence is apparently no longer negotiable. I chuckled. Not the enjoyable type. The resentful, "you must be joking" type. After that, I went to the closet, pushed the winter jackets out, and took out a frame that I had kept concealed for years. Maiden Ann Reynolds, summa cum laude, Bachelor of Science in Data Science. It has been hidden away for 3 years like a dark secret. Thus, they were never truly informed. It has nothing to do with the scholarship, not about getting away, not about the person I became once I quit trying to get their favor and began creating my own. They believed I attended state, that I lived 20 minutes away in the dorms, that I was in line. What did I do, really? With 2 suitcases and a pile of anxiety, I registered under a false local address, falsified my enrollment documents, and caught a one-way bus to the University of Chicago. I vanished, not only left, intentionally. Right now, I have a 6-figure job as a product analyst, $138,139 in savings, a team that values me, and a life that is truly mine, unlike the home I grew up in. Naturally, though, they are unaware of any of that. They only notice that I'm not present at their most recent Chloe-focused event, and I'm the issue once more. Because of that, I continued to gaze at the calendar. Anger red was used to accentuate Chloe's wedding week as if it had offended me directly. Perhaps the time had come. It's time to reveal my true self to them. So I bought a ticket home in first class. Not because of guilt, not for the sake of peace. However, there are instances where visibility is more effective than retaliation. The wheels of the rented automobile continued to crunch the gravel. But the house? It had been transformed into an image from a wedding magazine. Falls of white roses. Ivory fabric draped like a fever dream from HGTV. Before I even knocked, my mother opened the door. Her eyes did not meet her smile. "Maiden," at last. She gave a tight hug. Release, 2 pats on the back. "The performance is finished." She turned before I could reply, saying, "So, you've decided to support your sister." The interior smelled of new paint and vanilla candles. Every inch of my upbringing was covered in layers of wedding preparation. With a clipboard in hand and glasses on the bridge of his nose, my father emerged from his office. Without feigning friendliness, he stated, "There is no time to waste. These welcome bags must be put together. By 4, Chloe needs them." It seemed as if I had just entered the room. "I haven't removed my coat at all," he said. "And now you have something useful to do," as he started to leave. Mid-rant, with her phone glued to her ear, Chloe came in from the stairwell. "No. Cascading arrangements," I said. "Flowing. Everything is being ruined by this." The global signal for waiting while I micromanage a florist into nervous collapse was the finger she held up when she saw me. She gave me a dramatic, "This is the most important day of my life," before giving me a side of my face air kiss. "I'm glad you're here. When it comes to the seating chart, Mom is worthless." Even when it wasn't, Chloe's voice had always had that high-pitched whine that gave the impression that everything was urgent. Without even asking how I was doing, she went on, "Elliot is planning a big surprise for the reception. It must work in tandem with everything else." Elliot. The fiancé. I put my luggage down. Mom chirped, "You'll meet him at dinner." An excellent investor. A true crypto genius. With pride, Chloe corrected, crypto millionaire. Boy, oh boy. Elliot Brady arrived on schedule. 6:30, bringing pricey wine and that phony smile you get used to seeing in computer jobs. Tall, neatly cut, white teeth, designer timepiece, and just the sort of guy my folks would be swooning over. At last, the enigmatic sister shows up, he whispered, clutching my hand tightly. Chloe claimed that you were a computer genius who was hiding in the city. My correction was product analyst. He winked and said, Sounds intense. We ought to discuss business sometime. My friends are developing a completely new AI trading platform. He dominated the conversation at dinner, as if he were making a Shark Tank pitch. My dad listened to everything I said. What exchanges do you trade on then? During a lull, I asked informally. His grin wavered. For a moment only. Oh, a mix, he responded with ease. Primarily private platforms. You know, exclusive access. Interesting. And where is your business based? We operate separately. That is blockchain's beauty. Partners in Dubai, Zurich, and Singapore. Correct. The holy trinity of nebulous financial men. My father gave me a stern look, as if I had broken some social rule. Maiden, not everyone wants to discuss business over dinner. However, my stomach was already churning. There was a problem. Too silky, too carefully chosen. I recognized a magician preparing the trick, because I had seen enough smoke and mirrors. I discovered it later that evening while searching my dad's study for the wedding programs. A refinancing document. 3 weeks ago, we went on a date. The house where I grew up had almost been paid off. Right now? Large new mortgage. Then, through the thin partition, I heard my mother's voice. Are you certain about this second mortgage, Lawrence? Elliot promised a 20% return. This is the process of creating true wealth. My heartbeat thumped as I leaned against the wall. My analytical mind went into overdrive, risk elements. Trends. And like mold in a wet basement, a nasty feeling is developing in my stomach. They would put all of their money on Elliot. Furthermore, I was already very certain that he was a phony. Have you ever experienced a situation where every single cell in your body senses that something is off, yet no one else can see it? I was standing in my dad's study with a packet that stated they had mortgaged the house to invest with a man who called his business decentralized and was unable to provide a single example of a valid transaction. I wish I could claim that I was taken aback. In all honesty, though, this felt like simply another chapter in the same depressing story. After a lifetime of being the daughter, nobody paid attention unless there was work to be done. Prince Charming and Chloe, the golden child, become engaged. And me? I get to remain silent and fold guest programs. The stakes were bigger this time, though. Their retirement. The home. A man I could immediately tell was a professional smoke bomb, was linked to every dollar they had ever saved, or what was remained of it. I didn't get any sleep that evening. When I still thought that hard work got you noticed, I was lying in my childhood bed and gazing at the glow in the dark stars that I had affixed to the ceiling. That refinance document was on my mind constantly. The mortgage, the calculation, and Elliot's prepared responses. I needed air in the morning. Coffee, too. I then made my way to Rosie's, the neighborhood coffee shop that had remained the same since I was 16, and used to hide there when my family was having a breakdown. The same booths with chipped vinyl, the same cinnamon buns, the same waitress. Refill, please. Before I could respond, Margie put down the pot and asked. Startled, I raised my head. She squinted a little. I take it you're one of the Reynolds girls? The astute one. I blinked. The answer depends on who you ask. She gave my screen a quick look. I was unaware that my laptop was still open. Elliot's page on LinkedIn. A search of the business registry. 2 forums for investments. Clean cut. Overconfident. His photo beaming from several profiles with slightly different names. Margie leaned closer. I hate to bother you, but is there a reason that person looks familiar? I paused. The fiancé of my sister. There's something off about him. She turned pale. Pale, in fact, she said in a whisper. Edward Lambert. 3 years ago when he was dating my cousin, He called himself that. I straightened my posture. Your cousin? 2 days prior to the wedding, he left town, took everything, spent all of her savings, even took the heirloom ring from her mother. I felt sick to my stomach. Will she speak to me? A woman in her 50s who appeared to have aged 10 years in a week sat across from me 2 hours later. Karen. Eyes that are tired. Hands that are shaking. She still has the tan line from the band she never got to wear on her ring finger. I believed I was unique, she muttered. He gave me the impression that I was the only one who understood him completely. She wasn't necessary for me to continue. I was aware of the conclusion already. She nevertheless did it, because sometimes all you need is someone to tell you that you've been duped. A manila folder was slid across the table by her. Inside, pictures, bank records, screenshots of messages, an unsuccessful police report. Bile rising with each page, I turned it slowly. Transfers to accounts located abroad. The same spiel on cryptocurrency comes back. The same ambiguous business plan. 3 days prior to the wedding, the same abrupt absence occurred. What's the kicker? His countenance. The same individual, but with a slightly different name and hairdo. Brady Elliott. Or Lambert, Edward, or Lewis, Ethan. Choose. Karen's voice cracked. I lost $60,000 to him, as well as my honor. I shut the folder. There are others like you. I had enough information now to know that this wasn't a hunch. There was a pattern. Then came Chloe. My mom was having a complete breakdown over place cards when we got home. The apocalypse was apparently hinted to by the calligrapher's apparent usage of the incorrect typeface. You've spent the entire day away! As soon as I entered the room, she snapped. Where have you been? I raised my phone. Working on a significant project. More significant than the wedding of your sister? God. It nearly made me chuckle. However, what I had discovered was not amusing. Is everything okay? Chloe phoned from the dining room, which was filled with 3 different sample tablescapes and crumpled tissue. I paused. Can we have a conversation? By yourself? She hardly raised her head. Not right now. This typeface is repulsive. Take a look at this. I didn't answer. Without wasting a beat, she remarked, You've always done this. Appear only to make everything about you, then vanish when you're needed. I wasn't prepared for how hard that hit. It was so very familiar, not because it was true. No matter what I did, the storyline remained the same. Chloe, I'm attempting to assist you. By disparaging my fiancé's company? By conducting a background investigation on the person you're going to entrust with your future, as well as Mom's fortune, as well as the house. Her tone became piercing. You can't believe that I've discovered someone who genuinely wants me, God. While working at whatever dull job you believe elevates you, you're alone in Chicago. I spared her the correction. I kept the IT company a secret from her. The pay, the group I created from the ground up. Chloe wouldn't care about any of that. The facts didn't fit the story she had already constructed about me. He's not who you think he is, I said instead. I then walked out of the room. I printed everything that evening. Karen's file, the pictures, the transfers that take place abroad, the aliases list, the cop said. Even a declaration notarized by a lawyer Margie knew, signed by Karen herself. I spread everything out in the living room the following morning. My parents were sitting on the couch already. Chloe continued to go through her phone while still wearing her bathrobe. Elliot was still not here, I said. I need 10 minutes. My father appeared irritated. I hope this isn't more of your sabotage bullshit. I didn't wince. Just take a look. I explained everything to them, slowly, with caution, joining each dot. 3 personas. There were 3 victims. Same techniques. The same time frame. Everyone was pointing at Elliot. I even presented Karen's report to them. Chloe's face turned pale, but she remained silent. Not quite yet. Elliot entered the front door as if he owned the building just as I was finishing. What's happening? With a nonchalant charm, he asked. Nobody said anything. So I said, Edward Lambert, looking him in the eye. Lewis Ethan, or perhaps I should say, Brady Elliott? The skin surrounding his eyes tightened, but his smile remained unwavering. Common face. He shrugged and replied, People constantly confuse me. 3 females. 3 states. They all had the same tale. My mother let out a gasp. My father got up. Chloe appeared to be about to vomit. You're mistaken, she said. Observe the pattern, I replied carefully. 3 days before to the nuptials, each and every time, he vanishes with the cash. Chloe's hands were shaking as she gripped the papers. Her voice was shaking as she replied, You've always been jealous. This is what it is. You are attempting to destroy the one positive aspect of my life. I felt like screaming. I spoke what I had come to say instead. I don't need your belief. But keep in mind that someone tried to alert you when he vanishes. After that, I left. 2 days. That was the duration. They still selected him 2 days after I presented them with all of the proof, including screenshots, police records, and signed witness statements. It took 2 days for the mask to come off. Then he disappeared. When it occurred, I was back in my apartment in Chicago. The noise was 15 stories up. My personal area, my guidelines. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree as I was in my kitchen, sipping black coffee and admiring the lake's glimmer. Missed phone calls. Voicemails. Chloe, Mom, even Dad. The first one I disregarded. Then another. By the fifth, my curiosity overcame me. The quiet was broken by the first voicemail. It's your father, Maiden. He's not here anymore. He departed last night, Elliot. Give us a call back, please. In the middle of the statement, his voice broke. That was a sound I had never heard him make before. He didn't even sound familiar. The second one was worse. There is nothing in the accounts. Everything. The retirement money of your mother. Everything is gone. The third, on the other hand, is the one that pierced my chest. Unless we have a formal contract, the police replied. It's a civil matter. They won't take any action. Maddie, please. You are necessary to us. Since I was a child, they had not referred to me as Maddie. Then came Chloe's name. A message, you were correct. I didn't pay attention. Please assist us. I remained still while I gazed at the television. In my hand, the coffee had become chilly. You know when all the cells in your body say, look? You were aware. You alerted them. They still went with someone else. Yes. That. I didn't feel victorious. I was not even upset. I simply sensed. Exhausted. I gave my mentor a call. On the second ring, Vivian picked up. She skipped the greeting and said, You sound troubled. Now they trust me, I said. Now that he has left everything behind. A protracted hush ensued. She had the kind of silence that allows you to ponder your way to clarity. What are your plans? She inquired. I turned to face the window and gazed out at the limitless, blue expanse of the lake. I haven't made up my mind. According to her, Madden, boundaries aren't walls. You have control over those doors. I arranged for a flight home after we hung up, the same as previously. However, I didn't bring much this time. 3 outfits on 3 days. No more space for apologies or guilt. When I got there, the home was quieter. In the garden, the wedding tent was partially disassembled. Like ghosts of a celebration that never happened, wilting flowers still clung to the porch rails. The door was opened by Mom. Don't wear mascara. No hair that is nicely curled. A woman who appeared to be 5 years older than she was 2 weeks prior. She said, You came. Her arms extended as if to embrace me. But she stopped short, lingering in the air between us. Dad was inside, pacing the living room while holding his phone to his ear. When he saw me, he hung up. He added, We thought maybe you could help, his gaze darting to my handbag, and then to the watch on my wrist as if they were gauging my worth by the price tags. With financial support. Until we resolve the matter. I remained silent. We will lose the house, Mom hastily added. What are the Hendersons going to think? The board? The club's treasurer is your father. Naturally. The money wasn't the true emergency. It was the embarrassment. I looked across at Chloe. She was wearing one of my old high school t-shirts and was snuggled up on the couch. Her face was bare, stripped of the high maintenance she had worn like armor, and her eyes were puffy. Maybe I would have listened if you had just been more encouraging from the beginning, she said. It was there. She still couldn't say you were right without accusing me of being correct, even after everything. I put my luggage down. I unbuttoned my coat, surveyed the living room, which had not been updated in 10 years. I still have all of Chloe's dancing awards. I have yet to get any of my accolades. Each and every one, I said. I can assist, but not with everything. As if I had just uttered the magic words, my dad straightened. I can walk you through the paperwork because I'm your father. One of the guys I know is an expert in. I can help you file police reports, put you in touch with a financial fraud lawyer, and suggest someone for asset recovery, I interrupted. I was able to cross them off my list. I am unable to replace the money, or act as though this never occurred. I forfeit my future in order to tidy up a mess I forewarned you about. Quiet, Dad said. You make 6 figures, as if that were enough to obligate me. I started laughing at that point. A sharp, brief, uncontrollable chuckle. You provided me with food and a roof. Dad, that's the legal minimum. It's not a favor. Parenting is that. Chloe moved. So you're simply going to leave us? After being correct? Being correct is not why I am here. I'm here to be treated with dignity. I stopped. Leave it alone. You've never wanted me, but now you want me. There is a distinction. They persisted in their efforts. They attempted to use shame, logic, and negotiation as if it were a family business for 30 minutes. Mom grabbed the well-worn phrase, blood is thicker than water. Chloe went all soap opera when she said, you always believed you were superior. Dad then uttered the well-known phrase, we did our best. That was the one who did it in the end. That was the final straw. I listed everything as I stood there in the living room where I used to curl up with books and try to escape. The third-grade spelling bee. You stated that you couldn't attend. That evening, I spotted you two celebrating Chloe's field day ribbon at Friendly's. Nobody said anything. My scientific project from 10th grade? State approval. Instead, you attended her choir concert. In the back row, she sang, There is Still No Sound. My graduation? To assist Chloe with her prom hair. You departed early. It was her big night, as you informed me. Nobody was able to speak. I continued, steady, not upset. Just be truthful. Remember the Christmas I got you both personalized presents? The gift card you sent me had the incorrect name on it. Mom bowed her head. Chloe didn't raise her gaze. The voice I had not yet heard then appeared. Helen, Aunt. Holding her purse like a shield, she entered the doorway. I witnessed everything, she replied, her voice quivering. All the recitals you missed. Every time you swooned over her sister, you neglected this child. This is family business, Dad yelled. Helen remarked. I am family, and the dang truth needs to be spoken by someone in this room. In that house, I was taller than I had ever been. I added, I'll assist with the mortgage. The credit card consolidation will be handled by me. However, I will not assist you in repairing your reputation. 3 astonished faces returned the stare. You don't have the right to show me off as the daughter who came to the rescue. Not after you pretended I didn't exist for 23 years. From my bag, I took out a folder containing documents my lawyer had prepared. A legitimate, expert contract. I put it on the coffee table and said, This is what help looks like. Avoid blank checks. No direct entry. Every penny passes via a financial advisor I trust. Dad's cheeks flushed. You have no right to set the terms. When I'm the one helping you out, I do. There was utter silence in the room. The terms are straightforward, I added. One-time assistance. Solely through legal ways. No more rewriting history, no more manipulation, and no more lies. They took a while to sign. However, that document had all 3 names on it 5 minutes later. The following morning, I left that house without saying goodbye, because sometimes the only way to find closure is to move away. I felt as though I was finally closing a door that I had been holding open with hope for 23 years as I left that house. Not a drama, don't cry. A paper with just 3 signatures and the most distinct border I'd ever established. It was a weird feeling, not really satisfying, not unpleasant, only required. I wasn't naive, though. I was aware of the tale they would tell after I departed. She has evolved. She's chilly now. She merely gave us a sense of superiority. Although they wouldn't say it directly to me, I could hear it from family members, murmurs, and the grapevine, which spreads through small communities more quickly than wildfire in August. It made no difference, since I hadn't done anything to get acceptance, or atonement, or a fantasy in which they embraced me out of the blue and declared, "We were wrong about you all along." To break the cycle, I did it. I was the one drawing the lines for once. I was back in Chicago 3 weeks later, standing in the kitchen of my new house, a small craftsman cottage with groaning wood floors and an untended garden in the rear. Unopened boxes remained. However, my desk was already prepared. I finally framed my diploma and placed it over my screen where it belongs. No more covering it up with cold clothing. Aunt Helen called while I was drinking coffee. She remarked, "I assumed you wouldn't answer if it was your parents." She was correct. She continued, "They're still having difficulties, making another attempt to refinance the house. Chloe currently works part-time at the neighborhood bank. Twice a month, she attends therapy. I just thought you would be interested." She didn't invite me to return. She didn't press. She simply told me what was true and left it at that. She had no idea how much I valued that. I gradually began to surround myself with things that truly nourished me. I became a member of a mentorship program for female college freshmen, began to treat therapy with seriousness. At last, I began to say no to things that always felt like survival and yes to things that didn't feel like it. I was introduced to a Southside community center by Vivian, my mentor who helped me launch my career when my own parents couldn't bring themselves to come to my graduation. There, on Wednesday afternoons, I began teaching financial literacy. I wasn't sure if anyone would listen at first. Tanya, however, was another. 17, nimble. Sharp as hell, but a bit reserved. She made me think of me. A pyramid scheme had targeted her mother. It spiraled out of control, but Tanya caught it. One day, with her spine straightening, as if she had just realized she had one, she told me. I showed her the numbers. I remarked, "You would have been an excellent data analyst." She smiled. "Perhaps I still will." Suddenly, I sensed a change in myself. Erasing the past was no longer the goal. Planting something better for the future was the goal. Naturally, though, peace isn't always maintained. One evening, Chloe called me, blocked phone number. I nearly didn't respond. She said softly, "Tiny," she remarked. "I know I have no right to ask you for anything." I remained silent. "I just wanted to let you know that I located the necklace. Grandma gave you that one. One of Elliot's old crates had it. I believe he intended to pawn it." My chest constricted. One of the few items that had ever belonged to me was that necklace. I must have been home when he took it, because I didn't realize it was gone until now. "I apologize," she continued. "It's not for the necklace, for everything." For once, the silence that followed those remarks didn't feel burdensome. I wasn't prepared to speak just yet. However, I paid attention. Perhaps that was sufficient for the time being. Spring gave way to summer, then drop. I no longer waited for family updates. Aunt Helen continued to text occasionally. Chloe began attending her treatment sessions more frequently. With the exception of one letter from my father, my parents were largely quiet. I typed .sign.official. It stated that the refinance attempts were back in motion and thanked me for my intervention. Don't apologize. No possession. Just closure, encased in his customary authoritative tone. I put it in a drawer that I didn't frequently open after folding it once and twice. Peace isn't always a showy gesture. It's simply the lack of fresh injuries. I was standing behind a podium in the community center, holding an unexpected award. 1 year to the day after I left their home. Metal and glass, hefty in my grasp, actual. The mentorship program that I assisted in creating has received statewide recognition, and it struck me when I turned to face the audience. No seats left empty for parents who aren't there. Rather, I noticed Vivian grinning. Tanya from the rear row is waving. My neighbors, my colleagues. Those who stayed after seeing me. I didn't bring up my degree when it was my turn to speak, or my occupation, or the story of the six-figure success. I stated, I once believed that being helpful was the only way to win someone's love. Keep quiet, predictable. Worth, however, is not something you have to battle for. It's up to you to decide. Additionally, you cease shrinking to fit into someone else's frame once you stop allowing others to define your worth. A member of the audience then approached me. She remarked, "You ought to have been a teacher." Perhaps I was already. I went to my garden after returning home. The tomato plants that I had almost destroyed in June were now flourishing. Peppers, zucchini, herbs, all developing under the watchful eye of someone who at last recognized her own power. I touched the rose bush that I had trimmed back severely in the autumn. Fresh development, more powerful, more environmentally friendly, resilient. When it comes to pruning, nobody teaches you this. Although it appears to be damage at times, it's actually preparation. You trim what is dead, you eliminate the things that are stifling the new. You let yourself to blossom once more. A year went by. It has been 12 months since I received the initial email. Since I recognized that I no longer needed to live in the past when I opened the door to it. Life has a way of going on, even when you think it shouldn't. You anticipate that everything will be destroyed by a major emotional event or resolved in a single, dramatic speech. However, what really occurs? You simply never stop waking up, washing the dishes, irrigating your garden, turning up for work, timely return of the library's books, and gradually, the burden you once bore begins to feel as though it were someone else's. The grief simply becomes quieter. It doesn't go away. I still feel it sometimes. A location that no longer hurts but recalls how it did has a ghostly anguish. Mostly, though, I feel liberated. This fall, I began something. A scholarship. The Reynolds Visibility Fund is a stipend for first-generation college students whose accomplishments, like mine, were overlooked or unrecognized. I wanted to reinterpret the meaning of the name, which is why I preserved it. No more hiding. Stop shrinking. No more disappearing into the background, because someone else was more in need of attention. The first question on the application says, "Tell us about a moment when your efforts went unnoticed." What self-worth lessons did you learn? Just asking that question has prompted some of the most moving tales I've ever come across. Some from students who are quiet, smart, and desperate to be noticed, exactly like the girl I was once. Sasha, one of the applicants, concluded her essay with these words, "When no one else saw me, you did." Everything altered as a result. I read it 3 times. After that, I reclined in my chair and allowed the reality to set in. Because I recognized for the first time in my life that I was no longer invisible. I wasn't simply spotted either. The right folks noticed me. Every few weeks, Aunt Helen still texts me. She shares local rumors or pictures of the garden. She gives me updates about Chloe every now and again. The therapy is staying. She is currently employed full-time. I'm doing better, but I still live at home. Less noisy. Please come home messages haven't been sent in a long time. People no longer ask for money. And, to be honest, I think I needed that silence. It's not a penalty. It's only space. A place where I can breathe without anticipating the next question, the next jab, or the next guilt trip. That is the true meaning of borders, not barriers to keep others out. Only doors that open only when you determine it's safe to do so. My life isn't really glamorous. I don't post a lot on the internet. Unless someone else is paying for it. I don't own a Tesla or take first-class flights. I'm done attempting to prove anything. However, it belongs to me. Herbs, veggies, and plants that I formerly destroyed by overwatering are all growing in my garden. Coffee, reading, and the occasional candle that is appropriate for the space are the scents that permeate my home. Notes from mentees who received scholarships, jobs, and hope are affixed on my refrigerator. Additionally, there is a photo of me when I was 8 years old on the wall of my office, directly next to my diploma. He was the one with the spelling bee ribbon, but nobody came to look. She had a broad smile on her face, wide-eyed, open heart. That picture serves as a constant reminder to myself that I was sufficient, even in the absence of clapping, even as they turned their heads away, even when I had to give myself a clap. I occasionally ponder whether my parents are considering me. In the event that they happen to go by my former bedroom and discover they never truly knew the occupant. Should Chloe ever go back and recall the times I extended my hand and she slapped it away? However, that is no longer a wound. That is simply a fact. You might be thankful for what you've created since and lament what never was. That's what I discovered. Vivian took me out to supper last week. We had a poor champagne toast and laughed as if we had never experienced misery together. She remarked, "You truly made it," and I didn't recoil or attempt to minimize it for the first time. I simply nodded. I understand. I had a leisurely stroll home after dinner. It was one of those chilly nights when, like a secret, your breath hung in the air. I went by a park where children had etched their initials into the bench's wood. One of them said, "I was present." That's the true meaning of this narrative. Not a tale of retaliation. Not even a tale of redemption. Just a statement: I was present. I was important. I also ceased requesting authorization to occupy space. I see you, whoever is reading this and is still yearning to be seen. I understand everyone who has been dubbed too much or not enough by those who ought to have known better. And if you find yourself on the brink of your own narrative, contemplating whether to turn around or just leave, the answer is already known to you. Shut the door. The silent version of yourself is not something you owe others. Expand. Get up. Make yourself noticeable. You're free.